Fed up of floor robes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello Untanglers and welcome back to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host Heather Tingle. So today's episode, I want to talk to you about one of my favourite neurodivergent-friendly storage solutions that I'm genuinely shocked that I have not talked about until now. Like we're 140 something episodes in and I don't even think I have mentioned them, which is awful of me because I use these things all the time with clients. So I need to tell you about them. And the reason why I remembered to tell you about them today is because I've talked to two clients over the past 2 weeks about this specific thing. And it reminded me what an amazing option it is for us, especially those of us with messy brains, busy lives, ADHD brains, or anyone that struggles with putting things away. And when it's away, they forget it exists. So out of sight, out of mind, get permanence. And that storage solution is hooks. So simple, yet so amazing. So if you think, let's start with the hallway. Things like the fruit bowl, which I have never, actually maybe once in 9 years, seen a fruit bowl with fruit in it. But things like a container or two in the hallway, or usually it's a fruit bowl, used for things like, your lip salve, your chapstick, keys, bubble gum, lighter if you smoke, car keys, that kind of thing. So we get clients who create this wonderful system with the little boxes, the containers on the hallway table, and they, get it all nice, decide that they're going to give up on the fruit bowl, going to use it as a container because I like containers. Containers are good. And it looks great for like a week. But then I already know what happens next is the keys go in, then the post goes in, then it's a hair bubble, then it's a receipt you're meant to deal with, then there's more post, then there's that random top that you need to do something with. Like within a fortnight, if you're lucky, you're digging through like brown bananas because it's become a fruit bowl again, and like a mountain of post to find your keys, which somehow never actually made it in there because it was full and you decided, my brain looks at the fruit bowl or the container and goes, oh, it can't fit in there. I'm going to walk around with them in my hand and then put them somewhere random so you can't find them. And then that fruit bowl or container has just become like another doom pile. And you came up with a system, which was a good system, but an open container, which we like because, something with a lid means you're not going to put it away. But an open container, if you are not careful, can become very simply a doom pile over and over and over again. Now, obviously, I love a container. I think a lot of problems can be solved by adding a container into the mix. But for some people, they are such a terrible idea because they just become a huge, I want to say like bin, like a big extra dumping ground. And that is a container problem. It is something that either works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, I want to talk to you about a fix that you can try because I keep going back to this with clients over and over and over again because it works. Like hooks are great. I mean, I'm getting excited about hooks. I know it's ridiculous, but bear with me on this one. Hooks are fabulous because the thing about hooks is there's only so much you can like balance on one. Now, I don't want you balancing stuff on it. Like that is not a challenge. But there's only so much you can fit on a hook before it either falls off the wall or it breaks or you realise I can't fit anything else on it. But the great thing about it is you can see what is on it as well. So you can see when it's full. So can everybody else in the house. There's nothing to open, nothing to rummage through, no doors, like no decision to make about where something goes. You just literally hang something up on it. It takes 2 seconds. So it's so quick and easy to put things on a hook if they've been prepared in advance. And I'll explain that one in a minute. So when you're like hanging a coat, for example, and I don't mean like those annoying tiny little loop labels in the like underside of your coat because life is far too short to mess around using those. but like just use the hood to hang it or the neck on it. It's fine. Obviously, if you've got a beautiful like cashmere coat or whatever, you would use a coat hanger on a hook maybe. But for general everyday wear, you just chuck it on it. Like you're already going to chuck it on a banister or chuck it on a floor or chuck it on the side of the sofa, chuck it on the door handle. Like you're going to chuck it somewhere. So chuck it on a hook for that specific purpose. Like give it, if you find yourself doing those things, make it a strategy. If you're already halfway there. So if you've got an item that doesn't automatically hang on a hook, this is where it needs some prep. There's so many things that you can add now to make it possible to hang up. You can get these like, I want to say like plasticky bungee things that like wrap around things, and then they can create hangers. Or if you want to get like, really clever, get a drill bit out, put a hole in something, put some string around it, sorted. But the whole principle of a hook is great. It's visible, it's quick, and it's finite. There's only so much you can fit on it. You can see stuff, and it's so easy to put things away. And I've seen it loads with clients. The minute something goes from like contained to visible, people stop losing stuff. They stop rebuying it. They stop tripping over it. Like sellotape is a huge one. A hook with sellotape on where you do your gift wrap, where you do your post, whatever, makes life so much easier. So if you are doing, for example, I talked about this with a client the other day, if you're doing vintage and you want to go through your wardrobe, get some hooks, like even temporary ones, inside your wardrobe, hang your scissors, hang your packaging materials, hang your Sharpie marker, hang your envelopes, hang your scissors, like ready, hang your, measuring tape in the wardrobe ready as you like getting an item, you're picking it up, you're realising it doesn't fit, you take a photo of it, you've got all the stuff to package it straight away. So hooks can be so useful, and they don't have to be where everybody can see them, as long as you see them when you go into that area to use that thing. I really hope this makes sense. So it stops people losing stuff, stops you rebuying, it stops you tripping over it, because vitally it gives you extra floor space, which is wonderful, which always makes a room feel better, always makes a room feel less cluttered, and obviously it's safer as well. So today I want to walk you through where you can actually use these hooks in a home, room by room, kinda-ish. Because some of these you might not have thought of. So you probably haven't thought about the inside wardrobe packaging materials. But let's look like where most people's clutter starts, which is the front door. So I had a client with a tiny porch. If you are not in the UK, I don't know if you know what a porch is, but a little entrance area. It's a really, really small space. So they had a really small space to come into the home, and they had a really big shoe problem. So multiple kids, multiple pairs each, tried baskets. They were causing real issues with floor space. So they were tripping over the stuff, and what would happen is they would open the door, and the basket of shoes that kept just like, they didn't really have anywhere to go. It was like such a small space, it just had to be there. It would wedge, so you couldn't even get in properly. So then they started using another door to get in and out, which meant what happened then is they totally lost track of the basket and just started chucking shoes into just that space. So it came like almost like a wardrobe pile of shoes. So I am sharing this with permission, by the way. Shoes were everywhere, and every so often they just go in and like grab the shoes from the rest of the house because they'd gone everywhere else because they'd used another door, and then they'd just chuck them into the porch area, which, let's face it, is not ideal. First of all, because trying to match shoes up at 7 o'clock in the morning from a massive pile when everyone's in a bad mood and panicked and trying to get out of the house is not ideal way to start your morning. But also, fire exit. So we looked at the space again. I was like, well, this is where you enter into the house. This is where you want to enter. So we need to find an option. And when you look at like those shoe cupboards that like, the ones that like the drawer like opens outwards, they very rarely fit. Like if you've got big feet, you've got no chance. If you've got wellies, you've got no chance fitting them in there. So I automatically know that we are not using those because they never blooming work. So we decided we're going to swap it for hooks. Hooks going up the wall in pairs. So every pair went on its own hook. So the back of the shoe would just go onto the top of the hook, and they would dangle down with their sole facing outwards. So it meant that the shoes could dry, they were aired out, and you could even put like, a bit of like a lavender stuff on each hook or whatever. But it was so simple because there was nothing else on the walls. It actually looked pretty cool, to be fair. Every shoe was visible, easy to grab, and also vitally easy to put back. And the bit I loved was it gave them a finite number of shoes. So there's only so many hooks and so much wall space. And once they're full, that's it. Like, that's really important information, because if you've got more shoes than hooks, that's when you realise that the kids have had another growth spurt, you bought a million more pairs of shoes and now you need to swap some and get rid of some. Other than having a basket and just more shoes get chucked in and chucked in and chucked in, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The new shoes stay on the top, the old ones go underneath, and then before you know it, they're like 5 sizes too small and you can't do anything about it. So if you've got young children and you've got feet that seem to grow every 2 minutes, hooks might be something that you could do, because the lower ones down, they can put them away themselves, in theory. Like, we're not doing miracles, but it's a really good system to start with. When you start looking at like your entryways through that lens, there's a lot more that you could hang up. So keys, obviously, but like properly on a hook, not like just around a fruit bowl or chucked on something. Your phone on its own hook, so it's not moving around the house. If you want to, like use a brick or whatever to stop it from working, or you want to use your phone less and be off socials more, having a phone that you can hook it somewhere works. Dog leads. So, oh my word, the number of dog leads everywhere, get them all together, you realize you've got like 10 dog leads and you've got one dog. So they always go missing. Usually a dog walks off with it if you're not careful, or a child. So dog leads, great to hang up where you leave the door, and obviously all the other things that can go with it, like, the dog poo bags and all that stuff that you need. Your bags, handbags, school book bags, swimming kit, shopping bags. Oh, shopping bags, especially those reusable ones. So they actually leave the house with you instead of living folded in a cupboard forever, or being chucked in like an understairs cupboard or pantry and end up getting crumpled on the floor. Great for those. Umbrellas. They've usually got like dangly things on there from the handle that you can hang them up. Face masks, if you still use them. Lanyards, ID badges, anything that you grab on the way out the door. So if you've ever tried a box of this, maybe look at hooks on a wall or on a door. You can get some really gorgeous ones now that are really lovely and contemporary. Or the ones that I really like, which was like the cats and dogs bums with just the tail that you use instead. I mean, they're pretty cool. But that shows you my childish decor. So you can get really funky ones that look really lovely. So give them a try. The kitchen is also a place that's got like the same kind of pattern, like stuff that you use all the time. Generally, if you're standing in one spot, is something that you can look at and go, this little thing, can it be hooked somewhere? So especially in the kitchen when you need, like, you're busy, aren't you? Like you haven't got time to, especially if your hands are greasy, like put things away properly. So the best thing I ever did was have all my utensils hung up on a rack. You can do that with frying pans and saucepans as well, obviously. Having them on a rack instead, rather than in a drawer where, let's face it, every time I want to open the drawer, there's going to be a potato masher that is going to be stopping the drawer from opening. I do not have the patience when I'm in a kitchen. Well, to be fair, I rarely have patience in a kitchen, full stop, but I definitely don't have the patience to faff around trying to unhook a potato masher from the drawer. So I love having them hung up because I can see them. And to be fair, they don't get too dusty, even though I don't really use them very often. So that's good news. Oven gloves, aprons, tea towels, that drawer of tea towels that you got like tucked away. Bin bags, that can also work. Cleaning equipment, like your feather dusters, mops, that kind of thing. And then there's things that I love sorting through. Things like receipts, that random paper pile in your kitchen that shouldn't be in your kitchen, but it is because that's where you deal with it. So that I need to deal with this bits of paper that just build up on the side. Before you know it, they've got like a coffee stain and a load of like grease that's come from a frying pan on it. A bulldog clip on a hook forces that pile to stay away, visible, but flat-ish. So it never becomes like a 3-month deep extra in tray. It only holds so much because bulldog clips are quite heavy and finite, and it stops it from getting marked being on the kitchen counter, so they can work really well. And then there's other stuff. Now, this is the stuff that I want to say doesn't have a home. It kind of floats, but that's no excuse not to give it a home. So this isn't solve the where does it live problem. It kind of solves the why am I always losing this problem. So things like, can you guess? TV remote. It sounds really silly, but it's something that always goes missing. It ends up down the back of a sofa or just lost forever. Where does it go? An abyss. Get one of those bungee cords so it gets anchored to where you want to use it. Like, we all have as favourite places to sit. Like, where do you normally sit? Now, if you were in charge of this, it means you get to choose where it goes, which also means you end up being in charge of the remote control. That works well. So one hook by the sofa solves a problem in a couple of minutes. Job done. Towels. Obviously, they move between rooms, but you want them to dry properly when they're not in use. You don't want like a damp towel to go musty and mouldy. So you don't have to chuck them over your door or over the stairs banister, because I know we all do it. They're visible. They don't turn into a damp pile on the floor for you to trip over either. So one in the bedroom if that's where you get dry, one in the bathroom, problem solved, one per person. You can colour code it if you want to. I know a client who got towels that were all the same colour and then would do a different colour loop that they would sew on, because they could sew. Obviously, it's far too clever for me. But like, they would sew a different coloured loop on each towel, and the loop would have a colour on the hook, and that person got that colour. Problem solved, easy to deal with. Things like clothes brushes, torches, small, really easy to lose in a drawer, generally end up in a junk drawer, but genuinely useful only if you can actually find them. Clothes brush dangling in the inside of your wardrobe or on a spare coat hanger, for example, means it stays visible, but only to you. So not everyone's going to see it if they walk in your room, but also it doesn't get lost. So that's a bonus. And clothes themselves, I'm not talking about your whole wardrobe here, please. I'm talking about those worn ones, not really dirty enough to wash, not clean enough to put away stuff, that always ends up on a chair or apparently an exercise bag. Give it a hook instead of a chair, and that pile then stops existing. Like, over-the-door hooks are great for this because it means you can limit it to like 4 lots of clothes rather than half a wardrobe, so you can get to wear them again. So there you go, some suggestions and some ideas on how you can use hooks. Now, I'll pop some links in the show notes of things that I think are fab, which might help for you. But when you look at storage solutions, the main thing to ask yourself always is, can I put this away easily? Because you'll always have the motivation to get the thing, as long as you know where it is, but you don't always have the motivation to put it away. And a hook kind of helps with that. It makes it so much easier. So there you go. I hope that has helped. Let me know how you get on. Until next time, remember you're not alone, be kind to yourself and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour, hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.